Okay, you get bigger.
Great.
Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
It's a good place to be. And I see everyone seated. That makes me pleased. Now, diving in. Like I opened with, 95% of retailers are experimenting, adopting, trying things out. We know that's an important foundation. But only 5% are reporting clear ROI. I'm curious why you think that is. And I want to start with you, Lisa.
Right. So I think, first of all, that research is well validated. MIT has a similar study, McKinsey, BCG. So what's happening in the landscape today is definitely that a lot of companies are not seeing the effect on P&L that you'd hoped, right? I think for me, having worked with AI transformation for over 4 years now, both at Klarna, implementing an AI there, but also at HubSpot, and today advising companies in this exact same topic. What I see is that there's a lot of AI initiatives in organizations that are quite fragmented and scattered, right? So a lot of people doing a lot of things across the board. And I call it activity theater, right? So you have a proof of concept there, you have a chatbot there, etc. So it's very much a horizontal play. A lot of people doing a lot of things. So I think what organizations will need to do, and I think the next step is really moving into a way more vertical play. So that you pick a few areas where you really hurt as a business. It can be a business problem, it can be a customer problem, etc. And you go very deep and you solve for those. And I think that's the next new transition. And I think it's a maturity topic, to be honest, as well. At Klarna, 4 years ago, when we implemented ChatGPT, we had 4 translation agents. People were running wild because translation is a big topic for people, doing international work, of course. And we shut 3 down, and we focused on 1, and we trained it for a year and a half, and now it's a fantastic translation tool. Sorry, long answer, but that's kind of what I see happening right now.
I'm hearing scattered initiatives, I'm hearing duplication, and I'm hearing going too broad.
Yes.
Sven, is that right? Or is there something we're missing here that's holding us back?
No, I think we roughly did the same at Bestseller. I don't work everywhere in Bestseller. We're a couple of thousand people. But within our team, we've set people free to pick the AI they want. We've used it for coding. We've used it for translations as well. We run 16 to 20-something languages across markets. And they all have their own tone of voice. And they need to learn that. So it was mentioned here as well, it's a transition of the team that's important, not so much the tool itself. And if you don't have your colleagues on board with you, this AI transition will never happen. It's a little bit like the voice assistant. How many of you really speak to your phone every day? 5 years ago, everybody says that's what everybody will do. So that's what we're seeing in AI as well. It needs time to break in.
Okay, so one of the big blockers that's holding us back from that impact is really making sure that you have your people with you. Magnus, are there any other blockers or things that you see in your role that's holding teams back from impact?
Well, what I can see from my Kid and Hemtex view is that you really need something firm to hold on to and to really dare to walk wider parts around. So I would say that a really focused strategy. I had a nice conversation once with famous Swedish stand-up comedy act, and he said to me that the nights that I feel that the audience really perceive me as being really spontaneous are the nights that I'm also best prepared. And I would say that that goes hand in hand with a really good strategy. If you communicate it and hold it really transparent, it also enables people to walk in wider circles around it. And I would say that that is really something that makes people experiment a little bit more around a really clear strategy as well.
Excellent. Could you give us an example? I understand you might not be able to share your entire strategy with the team sitting here, but what's an example of a way that you're doing that with your team that gives them the confidence to experiment?
Well, I would say that working within marketing and CRM, obviously, a lot of times goes out to finding the best campaigns and the best target groups and so forth. Going back a couple of years, it was actually quite time-consuming. We did the calculations ourselves, sometimes even the algorithms ourselves as well. And it took a lot of time. And nowadays, working with a lot of AI models, at least, it's really not taking that much time. With the blink of an eye, you can create 20 target groups, and you can adjust it and adapt it to different campaigns and purposes as well. The other part of it is that, a bit paradoxically, actually, that the common usage of AI models and the prompting and the ChatGPTs and so forth makes people kind of trust AI model outcome even more, and that makes the other part of my job to convince people to use the outcome of the AI models a bit easier as well. So partly the easiness of using all those fantastic models. There are some not that fantastic as well, going back to only 5%. But using a lot of the fantastic AI models with the easiness of them and also the trustworthiness of the usage of AI helps us to create outcome.
Excellent. I think one of the things that we're talking about here is also really bringing a test and learn mindset. You bring your team along with you, they know the strategy, but you're not going to have all the answers for them. You need them out there exploring, but in a structured way. So I want to turn the question to you, Sven, and hear a little bit about building that test and learn mindset in your team, how that works for you at Bestseller, and what advice you might have for the audience on that.
I think it started many, many years ago with the founder of the company, because we've always been set free to do what's best for the company. We are allowed to think freely and take decisions as if it was our own company. And that what we have done in our team, where we're mostly developers, have set them free to do the same thing. We've used AI that knows our code to find what was a bug that day on a release. It found it before a developer. And letting them do that and take responsibility for it is what we've always taught ourselves in the company, from being salespeople to purchasers to developers. That's that specific feeling you need to give them, that they're allowed to fail, do it fast though. And that's important, both in development and in buying white jeans.
So I think that's interesting. I think this culture of where you allow mistakes to happen, how do you think you build that confidence in the team? Like, play a scenario for us. What happens if someone at Bestseller makes a mistake?
We talk about it in the end. Nobody's ever been fired for taking the right decision based on the information they had at hand. If you're stupid and take a wrong decision based on information you had at hand, there's a different conversation. But knowing what you knew at that point, would you take the same decision again? That's probably the right decision. And that's what we've allowed people to do around the company, from apprentices to, I assume, C-level people. But I have had the freedom, at least for the last 10 years, to do so. And that's allowed us to test release code on December 23rd directly through production. I wouldn't do it again, but we had to at that day. And that helps us also the confidence to allow ourselves to experiment with this and take the wrong decisions. Nobody's pointing fingers at you afterwards. They rather ask you, why did you do what you did and how did you achieve it? So that we can either copy it or not do it again, depending on the outcome.
I'm really hearing a culture of empowerment, going back again to setting these clear directives, and also creating a culture where you check the thinking, you check the assumptions, but you don't expect perfection. And we're going to come back to the topic of culture a little bit more later on in this conversation. Going back, however, to this theme of test and learn, Magnus, you have a really data-driven way that you work with your team. Can you talk a little bit more around that?
Well, I have to come back to in that sense, but working data-driven is not really optional when you work in the branch that I work at least. It comes quite natural, but it also comes down to the foundation of creating really good modeling work from the ground. And part of our jobs is really to create really good target audiences and test and learn, always set up the control groups and so forth. I said this before, but a few years ago we did all that calculation ourselves, and now we use other AI models to do it for us instead, which means that we really can do it 20, 50 times during a month rather than 1, 2, and keep adjusting all the time. And going back to what you said again, Sven, with the information we have at hand right now, it's all about testing, and testing actually gives you actual numbers which you can present to rest of the groups and get everyone convinced that this is the right way to walk. I think the easiness, once again, comes down to it. You can do so many trial and errors and use that information, feed it back into the models, and then go from there.
I think something I'm hearing from both of you is you had quite a strong foundation. In your case, the foundation of like experimentation, a strong foundation of being data-driven. And when you're adding AI on top of that, it's not something new, that culture continues. But what I'm interested in when it comes to test and learn, especially when you're using AI as a multiplier for creating more variants. Let's say you're creating more subject line variations. You can just create so many more versions now, right? Before there was a human limit, and now that's been removed. How do you ensure that test and learn mindset that it really scales?
I think it comes down to have a really, really strong belief in what you do. Always look into the different processes that you work with. Since we're talking AI transformation, I would say that a lot of companies is really driving towards increasing that AI transformation. And I think that can be a bit counterproductive, actually, because it's really about creating effectiveness. AI will not always be the most effective way. It tends to be more and more, and it will become even more, obviously. But I think it's going back to what's really create effectiveness and looking into the processes, and then look at where we can enhance the processes and also insert personalization and test and learn. And then you create an environment for really digging into that.
So you're setting some boundaries to make sure that you can handle the increasing scale.
Yeah, of course, and as I said before as well, have a really clear strategy, following that, take wider turns around it when needed, and then you have the right direction as well.
I think that brings us into another topic, and it goes back to what you were saying, Lisa, and this next question will be for you around going broad versus going deep, because there are now so many possibilities for creation, so many opportunities that we can all run after, and without the guardrails or the boundaries or the direction, you might risk trying to do everything all at once. At the same time, a lot of retailers and perhaps people in the audience also feel a sense of urgency to act now and to not fall behind. So I'd really love to hear a little bit more about the prioritization and how do you identify where you can actually go deep?
So I think in any organization, you have a number of problems, right? It can be business related, you can have a retention problem, you can have a customer problem. And I think the opportunity mapping is a super instrumental tool of starting to look at your organization. Where do we think we can think AI can help accelerate those sort of problems that we're seeing, and then start from there. And I think, and everyone knows this already, but I think once you have that, if you have a retention problem, then it's about breaking it down to a lot of smaller parts and using AI in this starting in the small space. So I think that's a really useful way. But this is a leadership question, and I think what's happened so far, and it's great. I think you need to let your teams experiment and getting to know the tools, understanding. But at the end of the day, I think the CXOs of this room need to probably be much more clearer on what the expectations are and where the big bets are when it comes to AI, I would say.
Could you give us an example of what it means to set an expectation? Like, what's something that you would set towards the leader? What's something that you would bring to a team in your experience?
Well, I can give an example from HubSpot where we had a lot of people doing a lot of things, similar teams doing similar things, and I think at the end of the day, we talked to the managers of the organization and said, "What's the one thing that you spend the most time on? That's so time consuming," and reporting is one of them. Being a listed company, Every week, we have to go through to our business intelligence programs, and then we have to go, and probably using that intelligence from Looker, putting that into Claude to do an analysis, put together a deck. You see, we have a 7-8-step process, and people were spending hours a week. Everyone in marketing at HubSpot were spending hours on this. And so the decision here from the CMO at HubSpot was to say, actually, let's just stop this. And so we built together the capability with the help of MCP, of course, where, Looker together with Slack and Google, where we could email the results, as well as, Claude. And that means that we can now work within Claude and do absolutely everything and not having to do all this. So we went from what I would call individual AI to institutional. We removed an entire workflow. And that's where the magic happens, when you as an organization decide on those things. And that has been a game changer for that organization. Yeah, it's an individual or it's a team productivity hack, but still it makes a massive difference and people can spend their time on other things.
Would you say that focus in one area that can create an impact is more important than obsessing over where you would make the best or biggest impact?
Yes.
Expand on that a little.
I think we had it earlier in stage. It's the low-hanging fruits. Where we can really use AI is where we do repetitive tasks is done by the AI. It's not coming up with this, in our case, new fashion thing you need to buy. T-shirts needs to look like this. It's actually taking whatever information you have about the product and put it into the PIM system in our world. That's a massive task to do. And if we can get AI to do that for us, we can get humans to do something more interesting, like a campaign that nobody thought of, because AI can only think of campaigns that's already been done and were successful. If we want to do a completely new campaign that nobody's ever done before, that still needs human interaction. In the old days, a watch at AI could not have a specific time because no picture was ever taken apart from, 10 before 2? That's the most beautiful picture of a watch, apparently. So that's the time AI could create for you on a watch, because there was no other pictures basically around. It can do more now. That's what we should do. We should take that low-hanging fruit, and that's the one thing we should focus on getting AI to solve for us. Like you did. You had one specific task, a better report for the management. Let's get that done. And we saw Lovable just do it here a few seconds ago. We couldn't have done that 3 years ago. So everything changes in this space we're in right now, for that matter. So yes, don't come in with we need to use AI, and by the end of tomorrow, I want 3 AI ideas on the desk, and you need to do them automated. Yeah. It needs to come naturally. Solve something that's a problem for us, and you're allowed to use AI if you want to. Here is a token budget. Go crazy.
Excellent. Actually, when we were talking a little bit in preparation for this conversation, and I asked you about prioritization, you told me AI should do anything that you would otherwise give to an intern.
It's a little bit of a harsh comment from my side, maybe, but everything that a human being is doing that's very repetitive, that you don't need a lot of education for, maybe that's something AI could do. And it is, you get a piece of description of a product and you need to put it into a system, because data is still the king of our business. The better data we have on our product, the better we can do a campaign. So if that's not correct, everything goes bonkers. And AI can do that for us if they get the right input. Even from a picture these days, right? Google image something 10 years ago was not as good as it is today. So it can see that this is black and has this amount of buttons and all of that. So yes, I still believe also in development and testing and QA, but we still need, and I need to say this, we still need junior developers or junior somethings, because if we have no juniors, we'll never have seniors. So we still need to not take every low-hanging fruit and just say, machines do this, because we'll never have the experts later to do the right thing or take the decision or come up with this new idea. So they should support us in our daily work. That's probably more my statement, my personal statement.
Finding the low-hanging fruit, but if you're hoping to have an internship in your team, opportunities are still there. That's what I'm taking. I think, Magnus, building a little bit on this theme of prioritization, you lead a team across different countries. How do you handle prioritization when you also have to look at it through the lens of different markets might have different needs? People who are sitting in different offices might be spotting different low-hanging fruit.
Mm. Well, first to say, we work in a Nordic environment, and I can't see that many differences between the Nordic countries, more similarities actually. Maybe more differences between teams that work with different tasks due to culture and differences and so forth. But I think that it comes down to every market have a clear view on their specific target groups, on what they need, and that they are really special. Finnish are other type of person with other wants than Swedes or Norwegian and so forth. But it comes down to, once again, saying that since we can do so much so easy with the modeling, and then baking in quite a lot of personalization within this, a little bit of dynamic content to make it even easier, we end up with having covered the market needs quite well, because it's not longer that Finnish people want something, it's what a specific Finn want, for example, or a specific Norwegian people. And we can use the AI models with creating individual marketing. We need a little help from, as I said, dynamic content, which can be hard to deliver in every channel at every time sometimes. But that comes along quite well as well. So we're quite close to that.
Really good. I think what I'm hearing from all of you is you have your model for prioritization. You've all explored in this space and you've seen some impact. What I'd like to do to close off this panel is to hear from each of you something that you're really excited by, like something that's working exceptionally well through AI, and something that you just say no to. You're not going to go there with AI, at least today, the way things look. And I'd love to start with you, Lisa.
So exciting, and I think maybe this is more of a philosophy on AI, but I think generally what companies are missing today, that it's actually humans that are going to use AI, build AI, train AI, govern AI. So what I'm most proud of in the work that I do is always making sure that we understand the AI adoption barriers amongst the employees. What's standing in the way of you using AI? And you'd be surprised how many practical barriers. There are too many tools, or I don't have time. And we have to solve for those before we start pushing out tools. So that's what I'm most proud of. Less proud of, I mean, I've also been in the space of, 10,000 projects everywhere, not leading to anything. So the 95%, I'm so guilty of. But I think that's a maturity. We're moving in different phases, and that's where we are right now.
Excellent. Magnus, one thing you think works great, one thing you wouldn't do.
Well, one thing I wouldn't do, I actually use AI to tell me what not to do, and I use kind of, this is my new holy grail actually, I use AI to tell me the stop groups, the people that I shouldn't do something with, or the campaigns I shouldn't do. Sometimes I do them instead, just to test if it was the correct answer or not, and it works quite well. So actually I'm using AI to tell me what not to do, and that works fine.
Excellent. Sven, bring us home.
There's nothing I wouldn't use AI for. If the return on investment is there, I'll do it in a second. And one thing I'll continue doing with the team, right, is set them free to do what is right. And that is in development, that is in the product description, that's in the marketing department. Whatever solves a problem for you, that's what we'll continue doing. What doesn't, we'll stop, but I'll try anything.
Excellent. And on that note, Lisa, Sven, Mikael, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. The audience wants to thank you too. Big round of applause.